How do you came with this idea of attracting more customers from outside of Amazon?
Them starting to raise the percentage of sales that they capture as Amazon instead of as your business.
I heard that Amazon love external traffic, and they pump up the organic tracking if they see that. How true is that?
What we're doing is we're sending traffic to our Shopify page, and we're selling people there and trying to convert them there.
What you mentioned about bundling, is there any kind of a differentiation that you normally do?
Ecom Squeezed podcast.
Welcome to Ecom Squeezed. I'm your host, Sebastian, and today we have a very special guest, Sean Stone, founder of Spillover Commerce and a seasoned Amazon advertising leader. Sean helps Amazon first brands escape over-dependence on marketplace by building profitable Shopify and paid media channels that actually push demand back to Amazon. It's like a halo effect. So brands can spend once and be profitable. He managed millions in ad spend, built analytic tools, and now works with 7 to 8 figure brands to reduce platform risk and take back control. So in this episode, we are going to discuss all the special techniques. Normally we discuss within Amazon, but we are going to go over outside of Amazon platform, Shopify, for example. But Sean is going to give us a lot of tips. So welcome to the show, Sean.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share.
Great. So do you want to introduce yourself? How do you came with this idea of, attracting more customers from outside of Amazon?
Yeah, thank you. So I have been advertising on Amazon as my full-time job since 2017. And from 2017 until April of 2025, I was like, this is the best thing on the internet. Amazon's the best. Amazon keeps crushing it. They keep doing things to make customers' lives better. They keep doing things to make sellers' lives better. And then April 1st or early April 2025, I read Amazon's quarterly report, and they started talking about how the Amazon advertising platform was growing three times faster than the retail business. And the retail business was growing at 10% a year, but they were growing at 30% a year, which led me to the logical conclusion that Amazon is no longer seller first. Amazon is going to do whatever they need to screw over the small guys. And right now, that is exactly what's been playing out. So I came up with, or really, I don't want to take credit for this because really I just observed what's already happening in the market and named it Spillover Commerce. And our whole framework is spend once and profit twice, because what we realize is you can take a high performing Amazon business and install a profitable Shopify and Meta ads business on top of it and get infinitely better results than if you were Amazon only.
Yeah. That's that I like to know more about it. But my first question is that you mentioned in one of the posts you mentioned about Amazon trap, escaping Amazon's trap. That's exactly what you just mentioned. But what is the trap exactly, and why it's getting more dangerous in 2026, for example, compared to a few years ago?
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I should define that. I also want to call out that we say spillover instead of halo because halo implies an unintended consequence and spillover implies more of like an intended consequence. We are intending to drive spillover traffic from one platform to another, and we're trying to weaponize this against Amazon.
Yeah. You mentioned about the escaping Amazon trap, right?
Escaping the Amazon trap. The way that what is the Amazon trap? The Amazon trap is Amazon recognizing that they have a little bit too much control over your business and starting to raise the percentage of sales that they capture as Amazon instead of as your business. So if you look at Amazon fees as a percentage of the average seller's results, in 2019, it was 33%. 2025, it was over 50%. And we continue to see that trend moving in that direction. The fees keep going up, advertising costs keep going up, and they're doing it slowly. And that's intentional because of that old analogy of you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, it's going to jump out. But if you put frog in a cold pot of water and then slowly start to turn up the heat, the frog's not going to know to jump out and then get cooked alive. That's what Amazon is doing to sellers.
That's true. Very true. Yeah. And, I completely agree with you with the CPC and everything. It's like crazy amount. And as you mentioned about the meta ads and everything, I think that should be much more seller friendly in terms of CPC, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in terms of on Amazon, we talked about the CPCs up and the control is down, right? They have little control on all these factors.
Mm-hmm.
And which of these things do you see hurting margins in mainly for a seller? Is that on the CPC side, or is that on the fees side, or all as a combined?
So I look at them as there are actually a few things that Amazon's done. So one is fees. Those are going to continue to go up. The problem is Amazon has really established itself as the bottom of the funnel of the internet for e-commerce. So you can't really just get off of Amazon. But what's in your control? Well, fees are in your control, that's for sure. The other thing that people don't really think about very much is catalog. Catalog is in your control as well. And stopping selling SKUs that are unprofitable on Amazon and only selling them on your website is one of the first things that sellers can do to take back some margin and take back some control. And a lot of sellers are really apprehensive to do that because they don't have a new way to sell those products. But if you suddenly had this new demand generation engine bolted on top of your business, suddenly you have a lot more options. And you're not so afraid of Amazon taking away your goods or taking away your sales. So we see it as fees, advertising, but also selection. Selection is a huge opportunity for most sellers.
Yeah, I think for your example that you mentioned, the third part is the control, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if they are too dependent on that one ASIN and they don't have any platform? So they need to build that platform, the secondary as Meta or Google or whatever it is. They have to build that. How long it will take for them to, on average, to have this backup ready so they can just switch off that ASIN?
Well, it depends on where they're starting from.
Yeah, all right.
And it's annoying to answer. It depends. I'm gonna call out the things they need. Yeah. So there are a bunch of things you need before you start getting from 0 to 1, and a lot of it is technical setup and things like that. So you need Shopify account that's actually built to convert. You need a meta ads account. You need, like all the infrastructure. You need to be able to ship a unit to somebody if they order, or have it set up to ship from Amazon to that shopper if they order. But there's a lot of technical setup. So imagine you have that all figured out. Everything's good to go. We have seen people get from 0 to profitability in 90 days. A more realistic timeline is 180, but we've seen it in 90. What a lot of that comes down to is strong offers that brands are kind of just sitting, like, you would be surprised the number of gold mines that brands are just sitting on, and they just don't realize that they could be implementing something like this and growing their business. So that's how we've seen it. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned, advertising costs are up, right? So instead of taking off the ASIN completely, can we switch off the ad, for example? Is that a scenario that you have worked with, one of the clients that you have worked with?
Yes, that is baked into our process. One of the things we want to do in the different phases of delivering something like Spillover Commerce is we want to completely switch off advertising, or drastically switch off advertising on a lot of our products, because what we're going to end up having is such a high amount of spillover from Meta onto Amazon that we don't need to pay $9 CPCs at top of search for a keyword that we don't even care that much about. And it also, the other thing that people don't necessarily talk that much about is having lots of spillover traffic actually just drives down your CPCs, because Amazon seems to consider you more relevant for any keyword because you have external traffic for your main keyword, or for keywords related to your main keyword.
Yeah, I heard that Amazon love external traffic and they pump up the organic tracking if they see that. How true is that?
It's true, but not in the way you think.
Okay.
What everybody wants is they're like, okay, I'm going to turn on ads on Google and I'm going to send it to Amazon, and that's going to drive up my results. Like, I've already done that enough to know it doesn't work. It does not work. Right. I wish it worked. If it did work, I would do it all day, every day. Yeah. That's not what works. What works is spending a lot of money on Meta and profitably acquiring customers on your Shopify site. So
Okay.
we're not sending any external traffic directly to Amazon. What we're doing is we're sending traffic to our Shopify page, and we're selling people there and trying to convert them there. But then what's going to inevitably happen is people, when they see an ad, they click an ad, and they see a product they like. Amazon, over the course of their existence, has trained people on the internet to go to their website and check the product there. Why? Why do they do that? Well, Amazon's got a lot more trust than any other website on the internet. They trust the shipping, they trust the returns process, and they trust the reviews. And when people go there and they see your products, they'll say to themselves, interesting, maybe I should buy here instead. And that's one of the things we highly recommend. The other thing, I'm just going to slip this in here really quick, is something we recommend you do is not selling the exact same products on your website and on Amazon, so that shoppers can't directly compare. Because what inevitably happens is you just spend a bunch of money to send people to your website, and they all go and buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
But if you have like an amazing bundle on your website and just a direct component on Amazon and not the entire bundle, shoppers kind of have to make that uncomfortable choice of like, oh, okay, well, do I want the bundle or do I want the individual thing? And you'll get a lot more collective sales by making that.
Yeah. And Sean, do you have an example of one of the client that you have a good case scenario, was struggling on Amazon really, and then came to you, and then you made some nice suggestions, and it got implemented, and they are like on a steady growth at the moment on Shopify?
Yeah. We have one website, we have one case study on our website. So it's spillovercommerce.com. And then if you click on resources, it's the 75K case study. And we have a company that we work with still to this day. We implemented this and we're kind of still going, where what has happened is this company was looking at one of their best-selling products. And this is a product that they used to have the bestseller badge on. But unfortunately, they lost the bestseller badge. And they've never been able to get it back because one of their main competitors swooped in and started doing exactly what we're doing. And so what happened was they were actually thinking about cutting this product because there was a 73-day period before and a 73-day period after. Why a 73-day period? I cut off the case study before the 90 days because Amazon was doing Black Friday sales starting November 20th of last year of 2025. And I didn't want to fake the numbers. Like, anyone's got a good case study when they put Black Friday and Cyber Monday in the middle of it. So this case study does not include Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It ends on November 17th. And we took the previous period where they lost 43,000 and we were able to swing it and make it so that they made $29,000 of profit on this product. So that profit swing is what led to some really substantial growth. And what ended up happening, and I can't tell you the product.
Of course.
Fun fact about my business, no one wants anyone to know that we're working together once we start working together, because they don't want any of their competitors to figure out what we're doing, because it's amazing. But what we have seen from this case study and from other examples is basically you ramp up profitability, you start making profitable sales on your website, but then that spillover traffic is insane. And the leading indicator is, and this is how you can tell if your competitors are doing it to you, is if you go onto any of the keyword tools, you'll notice a huge spike in branded spend. And so if one of your competitors sees a huge spike in branded spend, they probably turned on Facebook ads or TikTok. So that's how they do that. Yeah.
Great. And you mentioned about the Amazon effect, right? What kind of uplift you can see, for example, for that case study that you mentioned, what kind of uplift you have seen?
So, that we went from losing 40K to making 20K in profit.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
That was I think that's the uplift that a lot of people care about. But if you're more interested in what's the sales results? The sales results were 63 grand in that previous period to 193 grand. So we could easily 3x sales while by cutting our tacos in half using Spillover Commerce. And that includes the Facebook ad spend and the Amazon ad spend. So the combined tacos, or what a lot of people in the Shopify game call a media efficiency ratio, for that product got cut in half while sales 3x'd. So it's really powerful.
Yeah. And you mentioned about, the Amazon, a lot of buyers trust Amazon right?
Mhm.
Even though they are landed on Shopify. And you mentioned about MCF as well at the starting, to fulfill order directly from Amazon,
Mhm.
even though the order is from Shopify. So have you done anything like that workflow in any of the clients? And did you add that Prime badge as well, buy with Prime option on Shopify? What?
Yeah, this is very important. Buy with Prime has a fatal flaw. They will not pass data from buy with Prime purchases back to Meta. And that's what makes Meta ads so powerful, is that Shopify's connector with Meta ads is so powerful that they're passing so much data back and forth between each other that when you make a sale, like Meta knows exactly who it was, even though iOS 14 did all this stuff to privacy, like Meta still knows so much about all their customers. And that's what makes it so powerful. When you use Buy with Prime, you immediately remove any of the useful conversion data Meta needs to give you more of what you want. And so we do not use Buy with Prime. What we have done for some customers is set up the Amazon to Shopify MCF connector, which will take your Amazon inventory, and when a Shopify order comes in, it will immediately set that up and ship it out to the person. And that is a free connector from Amazon so that you can basically make Shopify orders whenever you want. There are also paid apps instead. Sometimes we'll use those because we want to sell bundles and the Amazon MCF tool won't let you. So there are a variety of workarounds, and it really just depends on where your business is at from an operations perspective.
Yeah, true. And a lot of sellers might hear this and say, "Okay, I'm going to start a Shopify, and I'm going to run some paid ads on Meta." What is wrong with that approach? Is there anything missing? There are a lot of steps that you customize it based on each category, but in general, what's wrong with that procedure?
So there's nothing inherently wrong with that procedure.
Okay.
Like there are a few sub steps that kind of lead to the same way that it's like, I'm going to find a product, I'm going to sell it on Amazon. Those are technically the two steps if you want to have an Amazon business. But there are some sub steps that are often very important and also often very neglected. And so one of the things we recommend you do is look for, if you have a high performing Amazon product already, you have what we call Amazon product market fit. But the second thing you need to find is what we call meta market fit. And really, that's just a fancy way of saying we need to find out if there are competitors who are already advertising products similar to yours, either direct competitors or indirect competitors. And if there are people who have already done the hard work of figuring out what is going to work for you on Meta ads and what it's going to take to successfully sell products on Meta. So Amazon product market fit, you probably already have. Meta market fit, need to go find. So do I have a direct competitor selling the exact same products I sell on Meta? If yes, you have that too. Then the third thing you need, and this is the thing that Amazon sellers get wrong, platform specific. Why does that matter? Because in the scenario I just described, where somebody sees your Facebook ad, clicks to your product page, and then sees the hero product you sell, then they go to Amazon and they see the exact same hero product you sell, but with free shipping and free returns and a website you trust. It's like there's no comparison. They're never buying off your website. And so platform specific offers is a fancy way of selling. Don't sell the same things on both places. You want to give people a reason to buy on Shopify. So that's like a kind of a rhyming thing I like to close with because it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Give people a reason to buy on Shopify.
Right. You mentioned about, differentiate, right? Basically have some kind of difference. What you mentioned about bundling, is there any kind of a differentiation that you normally do?
It depends a lot on the product. So the way that we like to think about it, right, is we like to think about it from either a durable good, which is like a product you might buy once in a lifetime or once a year, and a replenishable product, which is a product that you would buy on a natural recurring cycle every 3 months or less. So supplements, toothpaste, that kind of stuff is replenishable.
Yeah.
A new e-bike that I just got is a durable good. So with durable goods, you want to bundle things. So most products don't exist in isolation. Like I just got this new e-bike, but maybe I also need a helmet. And we bought my e-bike off Amazon. Yeah, exactly. I need a lock because people will still steal e-bikes because they're worth more money than regular bikes, those kinds of things. And when it comes to a replenishable product, a lot of what you're thinking about is, can I solve somebody's problem better? Could I sell a toothpaste and teeth whitening kit? Could I and make it a better deal collectively on my website than if you bought all those things individually on Amazon? That's a win-win for you and the shopper, and you just took Amazon out of the picture. And so those are the kinds of things you can do that can really drive results on your website and on Amazon.
That's a very good point, Sean.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the LinkedIn, you mentioned about on Amazon, you capture demand, but on Meta, for example, you create it, right? So how should that data change the way an Amazon operator thinks? So to shift their mindset, most of the sellers I know are there to capture the demand, through PPC and everything. So their mindset doesn't change, So how do you convince them?
Well, I don't spend that much time trying to convince people to run meta ads at this point. What I do instead is I show them their competitor who's already doing this. And if they don't have a direct competitor doing this, I show them one of their category competitors doing this. So not everyone in the supplement game is doing this. But if you sell electrolytes on Amazon, you are definitely getting hit by this right now because there is a brand called Salt, Drink Salt, SALTT. That is, they have over 100 different Facebook ads going. They've got 2 or 3 parent listings, and they're doing $1 million a month on Amazon. And collectively, they have across those, they have less than 2,000 reviews across their 3 hero SKUs. And it's just all Facebook ads, baby, all day, every day. Salt it's the best thing. They're one of the peak examples of spillover commerce because they're doing it with such low review counts and such new ASINs and such, to be frank, undifferentiated products. Like, okay, you have a different flavor than other people, but like, why are you dunking on the competition who's been there for years? I'll tell you why. Because they have the external traffic advantage that just crushes in 2026. And so what I actually do in order to convince people is just show them either a direct competitor or an indirect competitor. Now, I'll happily answer your mindset question in a second, but I want to specifically talk about one other example of a durable good that is really cheap and completely undifferentiated. So on the supplement side, you can go and audit everything I'm saying and look at the electrolyte brand Salt, Drink Salt. Yeah. On the durable goods side, lifting straps on Amazon are a very, very undifferentiated thing. It's like the piece of thick nylon fabric you wrap around your wrist when you want to do heavy deadlifts. Yeah, those are pretty undifferentiated. Some people have added hooks to them, so they don't even need to use their grip strength. But for the most part, people are like, okay, I want to buy some nylon in a specific shape so I can pick up heavy things. Well, I actually knew someone who was the best seller in this category back in 2020. And I talked to him recently, and he said he's on track to do less than $1 million in 2026. And I said, what happened? He's like, some people came in and just ran us over. I don't even know what they did differently. And so I went and I looked, and there's this brand called Gym Reapers. And Gym Reapers is the best seller on Amazon. And they have competitors. They sell for $13.99 or $14.99 for 2 wrist straps. They have competitors selling for $7.99 who cannot even get close to their sales. And what Gym Reapers is doing different than every other brand is they are just pumping Facebook ads and pumping TikTok Shop. They have over 100,000 orders on their wrist straps. So yeah, those are 2 examples of companies who are just crushing it on Amazon by using external traffic to their advantage and watching their competitors kind of just flounder because they can't figure out how to compete. So I'm happy to talk about the demand capture versus demand generation more, but I wanted to answer that first because I thought that might give you might have follow-up questions. Yeah.
Yes, of course, yes. So that's a really nice explanation, Sean. So one of the main other thing that a normal seller will have, it's about budget. PPC, how much should I spend? For example, I'm spending 30K on Amazon per month. So if I switch to, I don't want to stop completely whatever I'm getting from Amazon. I want to keep it as it is, maybe reduce it tiny bit, and then redistribute that to Meta and maybe for TikTok. So again, this kind of broad question, there might be different for each category, but as a rough estimate, could you give us an estimate? How do you allocate budget between Meta and TikTok if they are spending 30K on Amazon?
If you're spending 30K on Amazon a month, first of all, I would recommend that if you only have Amazon, do not go onto 2 channels, just go onto 1 additional channel. And so the way that I think about this, right, is like Amazon is like a penthouse apartment that you rent. It's super nice, but your landlord is kind of an asshole. Like let's call a spade a spade. Like, like he's going to throw random fees on top of you for no reason. Like, okay, yeah, I guess I might. And so TikTok is also, let's call it a spade, a rented platform. It's 2 floors down. It's not the penthouse, but it's a very nice apartment. But you still have an asshole landlord. Right now, he's on the come up, so he's not going to be as much of a jerk as your primary landlord. So you kind of need to ask yourself, do I want to rent a second apartment, or do I want to buy a fixer-upper in Shopify and then learn to run meta ads and kind of go from there? So I only recommend you go on one apartment. 1 apartment, 1 house, and you got to fix it up. Now, what you should be doing is thinking about 2 things. Like, you don't just budget for ad spend, you also have to budget for like the creatives. So the visuals and whether it's pictures or videos, you need both. And it's highly dependent on what your competitors are doing. But I would in the beginning budget the same amount for creatives as I would for ad spend, if not more. And then that ratio is going to shift. So in the beginning, you can't spend less than $3,000 a month or $100 a day on something like meta ads, because you will get too many false positives and too many false negatives. And also you won't be able to exit what Meta calls the learning phase. You won't get enough conversions for you to be able to do this. Now, the dirty little secret that nobody talks about is, in order to exit the learning phase, you need to find a winning creative, which is a fancy way of saying a winning video or a winning picture. And then what nobody else talks about on top of that is, in order to get there, you need to test 100. Like you have to test 100 videos on. Yeah.
Which I saw
and
that
so,
on one of the LinkedIn. Somebody was posting, say, I will test 100 videos on TikTok or on Meta and then check which one is performing and make the same format. And then, is that the same system that you?
Yeah, so we don't necessarily do a lot with organic creation.
Okay.
But what we found, right, is you need to find what's called like a winning angle. And so if you've ever been on TikTok and you've noticed like everyone keeps hitting the same intro to their video and then the same few talking points, what's happening is somebody's figured out a winning formula and they've told all the influencers what the winning formula is. And now they're all just doing that exact same winning formula. So the one that comes to mind is one that I think is technically illegal, but there's this yerba mate powder tea that was really popular on TikTok, and they kept calling it Nature's Zempic. So they didn't say Ozempic, they just called it Nature's Zempic or Nature's Skinny Shot. And pretty sure that's illegal, but who cares? And so what happened was everyone was coming on and saying that over and over and over again. And it was one of those things where like suddenly their sales skyrocketed because somebody figured out the right combination of words and the right combination of talking points to just immediately get everyone to buy like crazy. And so that is what you're looking for. Now, you should do that the legal way. Like you can achieve this without breaking the law.
Yeah.
And without tricking people for that matter. But that's just that's an example that really comes to mind because of what happened as a result, which is it felt like they're everywhere all the time.
Yeah. So it's basically on Amazon, it's like A/B testing. On Meta, it will be A, B, C, D, E, F. A lot of testing, right?
Yeah. Alphabet testing. And don't spend nearly as much time trying to learn media buying. It's not nearly as important as it used to be. It's not nearly as hard as it used to be. A lot of it comes down to understanding what works and understanding why people buy, and then presenting interesting ways to reflect that back to them.
Yeah. You have some nice quotes on your LinkedIn. And one of the quotes that pops up is spend once, profit twice. So could you please explain to the buyers, they'll be more likely to, what exactly, how can I, profit twice?
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, right, like when you start really getting high performance on your meta ads, you spend $1 and that dollar drives people to a Amazon, or sorry, to a Shopify website, and some people buy there. So you profit once. But then a bunch of other people spill over from your meta ads and Shopify onto Amazon, and you make an additional sale there, you profit twice. And that's really the whole thought process behind our approach is like, this is happening already. People are already doing this. Go audit the examples I talked about because you can see it as clear as day. They're already using this to their advantage. But what's even more obvious and important is even though it's already happening, you can do it too. You just need to follow the right playbook.
Yeah. And is there any way to attribute those spillover traffic? Can we track it in any way, or is that not possible?
So the only way to track it is through something called media mix modeling and what's called holdout studies. So there is a company that does this. They're called Hey Stella. I have no affiliation with them. Lowest price per month is $500, like for one software seat is $500 per month. So you need to be doing substantial volume in order to afford this tool. But the big difference is when you start running all these different paid traffic sources and kind of doing all this stuff, what you can do is stop running your meta ads in a few specific zip codes and then see what happens onto Amazon. And you can put together a correlation and effectively causation and then know how much impact your meta ads have on your Amazon sales. So it's technically possible. It's very challenging and it requires a lot of special tools. But there are two things you can look at right away. Thing number one is your branded search. If your branded search is going up, you can relatively safely assume that people are doing that because of some action that's happening somewhere else. Now, it could be word of mouth, but it's probably your Facebook ads. Mm-hmm. Second thing is sales. So if you're making more sales than before, or if you go into search query performance and you see more sales happening on your Amazon webs or on your branded keywords on Amazon, that's another sign you're almost definitely getting spillover commerce traffic. So that's how you can tell.
Great. And Sean, when you run an ad on Meta, will you run an ad on Amazon as well for like top of search just for the branded keywords normally?
Yes.
Okay.
We do it in a specific way. So we want to make sure we have our headline products, or our headline ads that have all our products in them. But then the other thing we like to do is instead of spending an arm and a leg on exact match keywords, what we'll do is we'll run an auto campaign with a 900% audience adjustment for high likely to purchase people. And what's great about that is you don't just get all the branded traffic. You also get all the people who are kind of like ADHD shoppers jumping all over the place. And you get all these really cheap clicks and all these really cheap sales that your competitors are probably not going after because, there's so much other stuff happening on Amazon.
Yeah, true. Sean, I have one more question. On the Amazon AMC, to make high CPCs profitable, can you, let's say that it's $9 per click. So do you have any concrete case study where, like a $9 click makes sense?
Yes. So the example I was talking about where we were specifically discussing like the 75K case study, they also have $9 CPCs. That's a big part of it. I do have other case studies where that is happening and we're still profitable. But what you need to be doing in that circumstance is you need to be absolutely maxing out your conversion rate. And so we benchmark our Amazon PPC conversion rate compared to the competition. And if we have a conversion rate advantage, then that's a good time for us to actually ramp up our spend and be willing to invest in $9 CPCs because we know that our competitors can't afford it the way we can. We just need to get to that other side. And so a lot of the time it's short-term pain for long-term gain because when there's a $9 CPC on a low price product, what it tells you is once you get to the other side, it's going to be so expensive for anyone else to come in and try to take this back from you. And so,
good and bad also.
Yeah, it's bad, but if you can create the advantage for yourself, it can actually become a good thing because it becomes a moat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's kind of a barrier, right, to entry.
Yeah. It's not great, but it works.
Yeah. And that's true, Sean. So you said you will benchmark, right, the conversion. So will you go down on an account level, or will you, for all the account that you manage, will you go down and check individual keywords, most relevant keywords?
Individual keywords. We actually built, I vibe coded a software tool to do it for me. And it's incredibly useful because once you put your PPC conversion rate next to your competitor's conversion rate, and you say am I better or am I worse? A lot of more interesting conversations can happen because you're no longer saying, I feel like I should be ranking in the top 5 on this keyword. Say I'm having a conversation with my clients saying it doesn't matter how you feel. The data says you don't deserve to be in the top 10. And it can sometimes be a little frustrating, but it's objective data, and objective data is something that no one can argue with. So that's something that's very, very useful because it forces us out of good and into reality. So that's part of our approach. It's we're trying to get to the result, not be take the moral high ground. Yeah.
Got it. Sean, it's been fantastic talking to you. You are very intelligent, to be honest. I'm telling you that.
Thank you.
And for the viewers, do you want to offer anything in terms of a discovery call or any other tool that you want to share?
Yeah. So we always, if you reach out to us, we will very often, almost always, do a free discovery call, as long as we feel like we can help you. But there's something else we like to offer, which will be in the show notes already, which is don't talk to us. Don't take my word for it. We put together these quizzes that are often going to ask you a lot of the same questions that I'd ask you on a first call to understand your business. And so the quiz kind of goes through a lot of the questions we'd ask. It's 15 questions. It takes 90 seconds, completely free. And you get, what's more important about it is you get an instant result. So I live in California, and my time zone is very inconvenient for people, or to talk to some people in other parts of even the United States and Canada, or other parts of the world. And so part of why we offer this quiz is so that you can, at any time, go through our quiz and you can get a score. And part of what's so useful about it is it's based on the conversation we just had. So we talk about conversion rate advantage, then margin advantage, because that's something we didn't necessarily cover a lot of, but having a margin advantage on Amazon is unbelievable. And then finally, and the one that's the most important, is external traffic advantage. So if you are worried that your competitors are doing this to you, you're basically going to find out if you're in a good position to use this on your competition. And so that's the reason why we put together the scorecard. It's called the Amazon Domination Scorecard. Highly recommend you take it. There's no call required. You get instant results. So I just want to help people. I want to put this out to more people. So that's why I'm spending some time really trying to make sure you understand the value.
Yeah. I think a lot of sellers, just rely heavily on Amazon. I think they should definitely, give it a try. So what I will put the link in the show notes. I will also put Sean's LinkedIn profile. A link will be there. So please do check it out. So everything will be there in the show notes. And thanks a lot, Sean. I appreciate you coming down and discussing, have plenty of, as you mentioned about profitability, conversion, but we are kind of limited on times. Again, thanks a lot, Sean. I appreciate all the answers.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great.
Thank you.